everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I've been making some Easter favours and they're super duper easy to make and so much fun. And this is an example of the one that I've just made now. So basically there's like a little acetate sheet in here and the sweeties are behind that. I haven't backed this one yet, but this just is to show you and give you an idea of what it's going to be like. So there's a couple of different options for making these. So if you want to make it as like a permanent sort of decoration, something that you could use every year with your kids, for instance, you could use a heavy chipboard and use a maker and the knife blade to cut these eggs out. But for mine, I'm just making them as like gifts for people, so I'm not expecting them to keep them or hang on to them at all. So I've just used corrugated card, as you can see. That is just what comes in packaging with stuff, and I've used this on a couple of projects recently. This one came in a new bed sheet set that we had at home, so I always keep it because it's a useful thing to have on hand. But if you're using, say, a Explore or you're using a maker, you could actually just cut this out using either the deep point blade. It may well work with a fine point blade, but you will need to probably go over it twice and give it a couple of extra passes. So let's get started on making these Easter favours. The materials that you're going to need for this project are pretty simple. You don't need very much for it, and a lot of it is actually dependent on your own personal preferences. So if you want to make this on a maker, you could use the chipboard option. So this is the chipboard that I would use if I were to be cutting this on my maker. If you're going to be using the chipboard, you're going to need the knife blade, and this is what the knife blade looks like. So that is one option. Let's just pop that to one side. I cut mine out using my maker, but I used my deep point blade, which is this one in this black housing. You can see that that blade does stick out quite a lot further than on the fine point blade. So it does do a much deeper cut when it goes through the process. If you haven't got the deep point blade or the knife blade, you will still be able to cut a thicker card using your fine point blade, but you may just need to give it more than 1 or 2 passes. You're going to need some foam pads. These are just thin ones, and I'm going to use a few layers of these to build up for where my acetate's going to go, for where the sweeties are going to be. So I am using these little square ones. You could also use the roll of foam sticky pad if you wanted to, but I prefer the pads individually. I've just got my box of embellishments out. These are all the little tiny glue-on embellishments that I regularly use. Then I've just got a selection of cardstock. This is the corrugated card that I am using. As you can see, it's quite thick, but it's not too thick to pass underneath the roller on the maker. So this is out of a calendar. The one I'm using today to make the eggs is out of a bed sheet set that we got last week. So always keep these things because they're usually 12 by 12 and they're a good size for making most projects with. And then the last thing that you're going to need is some acetate. I'm using Cricut branded clear acetate sheets today. You can cut this on the maker or the Explore and it does cut really nicely. It is protected on both sides with like a clear protective sheet, so just bear that in mind when you're cutting that out. When you're cutting the board for your main part of your egg, you'll need to pop this onto a strong grip mat, and I would always recommend using some tape to just tape down onto the mat to just ensure that your piece of card is not going to move during the cutting process. Okay, so once you've cut out all of your pieces from the design on Cricut Design Space, what you'll have are these pieces. Now I have got my star cut out using some nice glitter cardstock. Then I have my acetate star here, and I've actually left the protective cover on this so that I can show you how that comes off, because there are protective sheets on both sides of that acetate. I've done a little print then cut of this Easter bunny design, and that's going to go at the top. You can use, of course, whatever you like to embellish or decorate your egg. Then I have one piece of egg-shaped card with a star cut out of it as well. And then I have one star piece as well. That's out of the centre of my outline star there, and that's going to be the backing onto this. And then I've got 2 pieces of corrugated card which are cut into the shapes of the egg, and then this is the star shape where the sweets are going to go in the Favour. So what we need to do first of all is just glue on this piece onto this egg and let that dry. So I've just got some tacky glue here, and I'm just going to put some of that on this side and then glue that down onto my first cardboard egg. Okay, so you just want to line that up on there like that and just give it a little press down. I'm just using regular tacky glue today, nothing special at all about it. If you want to get rid of these little fuzzy bits around the edge, you can just trim those off either using a knife or using a emery board works as well. Here's one I've got here, and what I do is just give it a little rub on the side and it just smooths down my edges and just gets rid of any little fuzzy bits that the Cricut has left behind. Next, what I'm going to do is grab my star shape and I'm going to actually line up on my egg where it's going to go. So I'll just pop that onto there and then put that where it's got to be, and then just remove that from there. So that's where that's got to be. I'll just pop a little bit of glue underneath and just press that down, and I'll just turn it round to do the same on this side as well. Just be careful not to move your star. Okay, put a little bit on this side as well, and then do the same on the last point. There we go, and I shall just pop that underneath my desk to dry like I always do. The next piece to look at then is this acetate. So this is Cricut acetate, as I showed you before, and it's got a protective plastic cover on both sides of the plastic. So I'm just going to take a weeding tool and just stick that into there and just lift that up, and that just comes off just like that in one piece. So that can go into the bin, and then we've got this lovely clear acetate sheet here that we're going to use. Now this has got to go onto the back of this star. This makes the see-through pocket where the sweets are going to go. So what I'm going to do is just get some of my glue again, and I'm just going to run it around the edge here of my star. And then I'll just get my star and just pop that onto there. And you can see that it's going to hold onto that. So again, I'm just going to pop that underneath my desk to dry for 10 minutes or so. So whilst we're doing that, what we can do is set up our bit for our sweets to go. And you can either use some of this foam tape like this, or what I'm going to use is some double-sided sticky squares. So this is a new pack of these. So let's just open this up. The reason that I'm not going to use this is because I have ruined so many pairs of scissors cutting this stuff up. So I only tend to use that if I can just cut off slices, but we'd need to cut some strips and I don't want to do that today. So what I'm going to do is use these. So first thing I'm going to do is just tear off a section, and I'm going to work out how many it's going to need. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those deep for each section. So let's just tear that off there. Okay, so I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to just get these into little strips of 5 squares. And what I want to do is put these on top of one another, maybe 2 or 3 deep, all the way around my star, so that I can actually then put my acetate star on the top and have my acetate raised up off my egg. So as you can see now, I've just got one layer down. I've just taken that protective paper off, and then I'm just going to peel the back off another set of 5 and just put those on the top there. So now you can see how thick that is. So when the acetate goes on the top there like that, it's going to lift it up so we can get quite a lot of sweeties into the bottom of our design. So I'm just going to carry on and do this, and then when it's done I'll come back to you and show you the finished article with these squares. Okay, so I'm nearly at the end of taking these little backing squares off of my sticky pads, and I've done 3 layers of sticky pads for my egg. Now the thickness depends on your own personal preference and really on the sweets that you're going to be using to put inside of your egg favour holder. Now I'm going to just be using millions, and they're really tiny, so they're not going to be too thick to go in there. So now that I have got my pads on there, you can see that I've got maybe about 6mm, so just over 1/4 of an inch of thickness of sticky pads on there. So when I put my acetate star on the top, that's going to be raised up by that much. So I'm just going to pop that on there now. I'm just going to be careful to try and position it so that you can't see those sticky pads. There we go. So that's on there now, and you can see how raised up that is. I'll just press it down firmly so that it's going to stick completely to that there, and you can see if you look at the side how raised up that is, and it's got a good distance in between the backing piece of the egg and the actual acetate as well. Let's just move all these bits out of the way. I don't know whether you noticed, but I was using my Cricut tweezers to get the backs off of those little pads because it just makes it that much easier. Now I've got this little Easter bunny design that I did as a print then cut. This is a Cricut Access image. It is on the design that I've shared on my profile for you, so you'll be able to pick that up off there, but the image code will be on the screen now and down below in the description for you. So I'm just going to put that on the top there, and I've just printed this onto photo paper and then the machine's cut it out. So I'm just going to use some glue and just put that around there like so. And then I'll just pop that in the middle at the top of there. You could use sticker paper if you wanted to, but just sticking on a piece of paper is easy enough. Okay, now I've got my other piece of egg, and that will go onto there like so. So before we seal all of this up, what we need to do is get our sweets and put them in that little void space, and then we can seal it up and put some ribbon or some decorative washi tape around the edges just to seal it up, and then we can put it on its stand. So just before I put the sweets in, I'm just sticking on a few little crystal embellishments that I've just gotten out of my craft stash, and these are from the works. They come in these little plastic bottles. Actually, are they plastic? No, they're glass. These little glass bottles, and you get about 6 of them in a pack with all different shapes in them, and I'm just going to use a few of them just to jazz up the egg a little bit and make it a little bit more like a decorated Easter egg from when you blow out the yolk of the egg and then you put everything on it. And this just finishes off my design perfectly. I think it just makes it look really pretty and spring-like, and I'm just sticking them on with a little dab of tacky glue. So I've got some flowers, some little gold rounds, some blue squares, and some little tiny green stars, and I just think that finishes that off really nicely and just makes it look super cute. Alright then, so I know I said I was going to use millions, but I couldn't actually find any millions anywhere. So I've got these little candy sweets that I'm going to use for this now. So what you'll want to do is flip over your egg and just fill that with the sweets, however many you want to put in. Let's be quite generous and fill the whole star. Can we get another one in there, do you think? See if we can get an orange one in. Yes. Okay, so that is full, and what we're going to do is stick that onto there. So if you wanted to, you could decorate this back as well. You don't have to leave it plain, but because this one is really just for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to bother doing that. But what you could do is cut another egg shape from the design on Cricut Design Space that I am going to share with you, and then you can put that on the back and you could write a little message on there to the child or the person that you're giving it to. So let's get some glue now. I'm going to take the needle point off of this bottle just to get a bit more glue out for this purpose. I'm just going to glue all the way around. Don't go too close to the edge because you don't want to get glue on your sweeties. Let's put that onto there. I'm just going to push it down. I'm going to turn it over whilst I'm squeezing it. So there's the sweets sitting inside of that. You can see that it's a lovely little gift. It will make a lovely little favour for a egg hunt. So maybe if you've done your egg hunting and then you want to give out some gifts as well, give them one of these filled with sweeties of your choice. You can also cut out a little frame holder that I will link to below. It's from Special Heart Studio because I couldn't find one on Cricut Design Space that was suitable. I will link to Special Heart Studio's page on the internet where you can download a frame which will hold this egg hunt prize or favour, whatever you want to call it, up for you. She's got some really lovely SVGs on there actually, so it's well worth taking a look at. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. It's a lovely little design. So to finish off the edge, if you want to finish off this raw edge here, if you don't want to leave it like that, you could either get some ribbon and just glue it along the edge there, or I've got some washi tape here that I think if I cut a piece off, and I'm just going to stick it to my desk a second and just cut down the centre of there with my craft knife just to cut it in half. Now I've got two pieces and I can just use these just to cover that edge like so. Try and get it lined up with the side of your egg. And I've got this next bit here. Just another way really of just finishing off that edge, just so that it's not a completely raw edge. There. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd love to see you again for the next one. So don't forget to subscribe, drop me any questions, comments, anything that you've got to say to me down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I do try to reply to as many people as I can as quickly as possible. I hope you have a wonderful Easter and a peaceful break and a little holiday maybe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.